Hello everyone, I'm Jennifer from Zo-doe-je-dat, and today, as you may have noticed, we are in a bit of a different environment. This is my computer room, computer desk, and for today's video I'm going to do a digital art demonstration, so hence why we are sitting here, and well, I am. And yeah, I'm going to draw on my new Cintiq today, which I got for Christmas, and yeah, it's awesome. And the person I got it from, you are crazy, but I love you and you know who you are. So yeah, today's video, digital art. I hope you will enjoy. Most of you who have been following my channel probably know me as a traditional artist, but actually I have been doing digital art much longer than I have been doing traditional media. I was about 11 or 12 years old when I got to draw on my uncle's Macintosh and his drawing tablet for the first time, and I totally fell in love with it. As soon as I got my first real job years later, I bought a simple computer and a cheap Wacom bamboo. Some years after that, I bought the Wacom Intuos 4 and used that one for nearly 9 years on almost a daily basis to draw on the computer. But then I rediscovered traditional art and kinda stopped doing digital art. Also because my iMac died and the Intuos 4 was no longer really supported on Windows 10. But now that I got a Cintiq, my interest in digital art got sparked again. So let's move on to the demonstration. Before I'm going to draw anything, I'm first going to prepare my reference material. With the Australian bushfires being on my mind a lot, I felt like drawing something that had to do with that subject, and I had this idea about translating hope in my illustration by drawing a wallaby holding a sapling of some sort. So I took a photo I shot last year in a zoo and opened it in Photoshop. Now the photo is nothing too amazing, but I liked the pose of the animal as it was closest to what I had in mind. With a cropping tool I cropped out the part that I wanted to draw. Now that the reference material is prepped, I start sketching out the wallaby. One great advantage about drawing in digital media is that you can easily fix mistakes and can keep on adjusting to your heart's content, as nothing is permanent, just like I did here with the ears. I noticed I had drawn them too far apart from each other, so to fix this I took the lasso tool and drew around the ears. This tool then selects the area and you can now cut it or drag it somewhere else or change its size or shape. So what I did was dragging the ears closer to each other and resize them a bit until I felt they looked right. So far, drawing on the Cintiq feels almost as natural as when you draw on a piece of paper. On the Cintiq you're drawing right on the screen, and surprisingly I noticed hardly any latency, or as you could call it, delay between the pen and the screen. I remembered when I bought a Cintiq Pro in 2016, I just couldn't use it because there was so much delay between my pen and the screen. Like when I drew a line, the line only appeared a second or two after I moved the pen. Maybe my PC rig at the time was to blame, as it perhaps was too old to handle the tablet, but with this Cintiq I had no problems whatsoever. This is, by the way, the 16-inch Full HD from 2019 Cintiq, for the ones who are wondering. Also, I am using the program Photoshop CS5 to draw in. Once I am done sketching in the design, I start coloring in the base colors. Basically, those are the colors of the subject without the shadows and the lighting or highlights. When working digitally, it's always handy to work in layers. So far I got my sketch and my background and base colors all in separate layers. This makes it a lot easier to keep track of what you put where. But it also makes your life a lot easier if you want to try certain things but you aren't sure if it works out for your piece or not. If you do such a thing on a new layer and it isn't to your liking, you can just easily delete your layer in question and no harm was done to your drawing. Also, another golden tip when you draw digitally, save your progress as often as possible, because it's a shame when you lose hours of work because your PC crashed or because your mother decided to pull your plug. No, seriously, save your progress and save it often. Here you see me flip the drawing to a landscape format because keeping it on portrait format was a bit too small to work with when I wanted to work on the more detailed bits. 16" is decent though, certainly compared to my 13" Cintiq Pro. But at any case, I can always flip it back in portrait format. So I am adding a bit of highlights and some fur texture on the head and body. You can easily change the size of your brush from small to bigger with hotkeys on your keyboard. I believe there's a hotkey for about every function in Photoshop, but I only know a few. Clearly, I have been away from digital painting too long. Before I started drawing digitally again last Christmas or Jule, 2017 was the last time I drew digitally, so it's been quite a while, but it's kinda like cycling, you never forget how to do it. So I am adding a bit more detail to make him furry and also made the background dark blue so the wallaby would pop out a bit more. Also, I wanted the ground the wallaby is standing on look a bit charred with embers here and there. The idea behind it is to be in contrast to the sapling or little light of hope the wallaby will be holding. I will keep everything a bit sketchy looking also because I wanted to see how much I could accomplish within a 2-hour time frame. So now that I am pretty happy about the base colors, I start a new layer for the shadows. To make sure I can still see the layer with the base colors, I set my shadow layer on multiply instead of normal. This turns your shadow layer transparent instead of opaque. You can compare it a bit with glazing with oil paints or watercolor paints. This way you can alter the colors or contrasts without losing the details that are laying underneath. In this case I am adding blue cool shadows over the base color layer, and as you can see the layer underneath still shows through. Now for the highlights I do the same. I create a new layer and set it on overlay instead of normal. This will enhance the lighting effect depending on the color you choose. A light color works the best. I took a bright yellow orange and got this nice bright and warm glow on the places where light would hit the animal. And again, I don't lose details from the layer laying underneath. The next part will get a bit trickier as I have to work from imagination as the sapling isn't in the reference photo. So I start out by drawing out the little sapling sprouting from its paws. This won't be too detailed as it will mainly glow bright and has a more symbolic purpose than being actually realistic. Because the plant glows, I am going to add some green reflective light on the parts of the wallaby that are closest to the sapling. Again, I'm going to do this making a new layer for the glow and turn it into an overlay layer, and with a bright green color I add glowy bits on the wallaby's face, arms and chest. Finally, I add some last highlights and final details such as whiskers, and then tweak the brightness and contrast and saturations a bit with various Photoshop menus. And when it's to my liking, I save it again and call it finished. So we are at the end of the video. I hope it was helpful. If you liked it, please leave me a like and feel free to leave a comment below if you have any suggestions or just want to talk. I really like reading through them. And as always, subscribe and hit the bell icon if you don't want to miss out on any of my future videos. Again, thank you for watching and hopefully see you back in the next video. Have a good one.